Welcome to Focus Educare TNPC Academy. Today we discuss about General Studies, Indian Polity. The first topic is making up Indian Constitution. It was in 1934 that the idea of Constitution Assembly for India was put forward for the first time by M.N. Rai, a pioneer of communist movement in India and an advocate of radical democratism. The second step is in 1935, the Indian National Congress, that means INC, for the first time officially demanded a Constitution Assembly to frame the Constitution of India. Third, in 1938, Jawaharlal Nehru, on behalf of the Indian National Congress, declared that the Constitution of Free India must be framed with, without outside interference by the Constitution Assembly, elected on the basis of adult franchises. The demand was finally accepted in principle by the British government in what is known as August Offer of 1940. In 1942, Stafford Cripps, a member of cabinet, came to India with a draft proposal of British government on the framing of independent constitution to be adopted after the World War II. The World War took place 1939 to 1945. The Cripps proposal was rejected by the Muslim League, which wanted India to be divided into two autonomous states with two separate constitution assembly. Finally, a cabinet mission was sent to India. While it rejected idea of two constitution assembly, it put forth a scheme of constitution assembly which more or less satisfied the Muslim League. The Constitution of India was framed by the Constitution Assembly set up under the Cabinet Mission Plan 1946. The Assembly consists of 389 members representing the province 292 members, state 93, the Chief Commissioner province 3 and Balochistan 1 members. The Assembly held its first meeting on December 9, 1946. 1946, Dr. Sachidananda Sinha, the oldest member, was elected as the temporary president of the Assembly. At the time of the meeting was thus attended by only 211 members. Following the French practice, the temporary president of the Assembly, following the French practice. Later, on December 11, 1946, Dr. Rajendra Prasad and H.G. Mukherjee were elected as the President and Vice President of the Assembly. Dr. Rajendra Prasad was elected as the President of the Assembly. Similarly, both H.G. Mukherjee and V.T. Krishnamachari were elected as the Vice President of the Assembly. Sir B.N. Rao was appointed as the constitutional advisor to the Assembly. Okay. On December 13, 1946, Jawaharlal Nehru moved the historic objective resolution in the Assembly. It laid down the fundamental and philosophy of the constitutional structure. Okay. The Assembly met for 11 sessions along with 166 days of meeting. During the discussion, 2,473 amendments were presented. Some of them were accepted. The Assembly worked through various committees and the draft of the Constitution was prepared by the drafting committee under the chairmanship of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar is recognized as the father of Constitution of India. Among all the committee of the Constitution Assembly, the most important committee was the drafting committee set up on August 29, 1947. It was the committee that was entrusted with the task of preparing a draft of the new constitution. It consists of 7 members. They are: number 1, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, Chairman; number 2, N. Gopalasamy Iyengar; number 3, Alladi Krishnasamy Iyer; number 4, Dr. K.M. Munshi; number 5, Said Muhammadu Sadullah; number 6, N. Madhava Rao. He replaced P.L. Mitter, who resigned due to ill health. Number 7, T.T. Krishnamachari. He replaced D.P. Ketan, who died in 1948. After the draft had been discussed by the people, the press, provincial assembly and other, the constitution was finally adopted on November 26, 1949. Contained a preamble, 22 part, 395 article and 8 schedule. Presently, the constitution contains a preamble, 24 parts, more than 450 articles and 12 schedule. The draft constitution came into force on 26th January 1950. This day is known as the Republic Day, it being observed every year. The Constitution Assembly held its first meeting on 9th December 1946 and reassembled after the partition of Pakistan as Constitution Assembly for the remaining India on 14th August 1947. The member of Provincial Legislative Assembly indirectly elected the member of Constitution Assembly. The Constitution Assembly was composed of members along the lines suggested by the plan proposed by the Committee of British Cabinet. It's also known as Cabinet Mission. In this picture, February 1948, some of members of the drafting committee of the Constitutional Assembly of India, seated from left, N. Madhava Rao, Said Muhammadu Sadullah, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, Sir Alladi Krishnasamy Iyer, and Sir B.N. Rao. Also in the picture is standing from left, S.N. Mukherjee, Jugal Kishore Khanna, and Keval Krishnan. Province and princely states or group of states were allotted seats proportional to their respective population, roughly in the ratio of 1:1 million. 1 million is equal to 10 lakhs people. The provincials were to elect 292 members, while the princely states were to send a minimum of 93 seats. The seats of each province distributed among the 3 main communities, namely based on population, number 1 Hindu, number 2 Muslim, number 3 Sikhs, in proportion to their respective population in their provinces. Members of each community in the Provincial Legislative Assembly elected the representative by the method of proportional representation with a single transferable vote. The method of selection of representative of princely states was to be determined by the princely state themselves. Then next, composition of the Constitution Assembly. 284 members were present on 26th November 1949 and appended their signature to the Constitution as finally passed. This is the most important point. At the time of Constitution finally passed, there are 284 members were present on 26th November 1949. The first meeting of the Constitutional Assembly took place in Constitution Hall, New Delhi on Monday, 9th December 1946 at 11 of the clock. The title of the first debate was Election of Temporary Chairman. Acharya J.P. Kirbalani is the President of United Province General, requesting Dr. Chachidananda Simha to take the chair as a temporary chairman. That means Constituent Assembly debates. The final meeting held on 24/1/1950 with the title of Signing of the Constitution, and Dr. Rajendra Prasad is the chairman of the debate. The Constituent Assembly debate consists of 12 volumes and it held between 9th December 1946 to 24th January 1950. Other functions performed. In addition to the making of the Constitution and enacting of ordinary law, the Constitution Assembly also performed the following function. Number 1. It ratified the India's membership of the Commonwealth in May 1949. Number 2. It adopted the national flag on July 22nd, 1947. Number 3. It adopted the national anthem on January 24, 1950. Number 4. It adopted the national song on January 24, 1950. Number 5. It elected Dr. Rajendra Prasad as the first President of India on January 24, 1950. In all, the Constitution Assembly had 11 sessions over 2 years, 11 months and 18 days. The Constitution makers had gone through the Constitution of about 60 countries and the draft Constitution was considered for 114 days. The total expenditure incurred on making the Constitution amounted to Rs 64 lakhs. On January 24, 1950, the Constitution Assembly held its final session. It, however, did not endure and continued as the Provincial Parliament of India from January 26, 1950 till the following of new Parliament after the first general election in 1951 to 1952. The major committee of Constitution Assembly is number 1. Union Power Committee headed by Jawaharlal Nehru. Number 2. Union Constitution Committee headed by Jawaharlal Nehru. Number 3. Provincial Constitution Committee headed by Sardar Patel. Number 4. Drafting Committee Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Number 5. Advisory Committee on Fundamental Rights and Minority Sardar Patel. Fundamental Rights of Subcommittee J.P. Kirbalani. Minority Subcommittee headed by H.G. Mukherjee. Rules of Procedure of Committee Dr. Rajendra Prasad. State Committee for Negotiation with State Jawaharlal Nehru. Steering Committee by Dr. Rajendra Prasad. Minor Committee on Function of Constitution Assembly G.V. Mavalangar, the first Parliament Speaker. Order of Business Committee Dr. K.M. Munshi. Number 3. House of Committee by V. Patami Sitaramaya. Ad hoc Committee on National Flag Dr. Rajendra Prasad. Special Committee to examine the Drafting Committee Alladi Krishnasamy Iyer. Finance and Staff Committee A. N. Shinka. Hindi Translation Committee, Urdu Translation Committee, Press Gallery Committee, Committee to examine the effect of Indian Independence Act of 1947, Committee on Chief Commissioner Provinces, Commission of Linguistic Province, Expert Committee on Financial Prevention, Ad hoc Committee on Supreme Court, Credential Committee Alladi Krishnasamy Iyer. The Constitution as adopted on November 26, 1949 contained a preamble, 395 article and 8 schedule. The preamble was enacted after the entire constitution was already enacted. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, then law minister, flirted the drafting constitution in the assembly. He took a very prominent part of the deliberation of the assembly. He was known for his logical, forceful, and persuasive argument on the floor of the assembly. He is recognized as the father of Constitution of India. This brilliant writer, constitutional expert, undisputed leader of the scheduled caste, the chief architecture of the Constitution of India, is also known as Modern Manu.